human game console, whatever is ahead of episode 15 or 16. So maybe 16 or 17, depending on what I write in the title in the aftermath of uploading this video. So as you can tell, I'm a little sweaty and tired. Not really exhausted, I guess you could say, because I exercised a little bit for the first time in like weeks and months, honestly. Well, not months, as I'm exaggerating, because I did the April and May thing, and June, July, other stuff with the ball and switching cord every day until I stopped. And then I exercise every once in a while when I want to, even though it's not supposed to be about a. It's more of a discipline thing and a consistency thing, but depends on how you see that even then. But with the attitudes in mind, attitudes of mind. So again, this video will be about Human Game Console episode 16 or 17. We're gonna talk about not being impatient even after you do succeed. So it's like, you know, when that you like, for example, my own example, if I can make this short, if I have to, is that whenever I finally succeed at being happy, not so much I've never been before, if I lie about that, if I succeed at being happy, and I still wonder about those things I want to do with my time, maybe some of those preparations, some of those studying research articles I want to do for Marchcarf and for Diggs or Tony Cashman channels on YouTube, the alt channels, other than Crosswind, or whatever I call this one, for claymation and all that. If I want to research that stuff, if I want to do that other stuff, make those purchases, make those other things I want to do in my life, things that'll be fun, things that'll make me sociable, and other risks I might take at that point. If I want to do those things after being successful, as a matter of fact, after being successful, then who's gonna stop me then? But even then, don't be impatient. You can still try to prioritize your happiness because you say so, but don't be impatient about doing things you want to do, even if you already got to do what you want to do. You know what I mean? That's all I got for this video right now. So take care, guys. I'm not even gonna repeat myself. Just right now. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then go for 3, 2, 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8. We don't have any specific topics for this video. It's going to be a bit freeform on purpose, while we still have a few other topics, at least 2 in mind, which are slow-paced cultivation and life is actually long. So we'll work with those right away if we have time, because I'm starting right now anyways. Not wasting too much of that at the time. We'll see. Life is long, not short. There's a few people who have said in defense of life being long that we just waste it all, or we don't have to complain about life being short. I'm going to take it a step further than that. It is quite literally how you use that time. It is deliberately how you make the most of the time, whether it feels short or not. And I know that it seems daunting to have to think of it being limited, and whatever that means, fear of death, having to worry about, even in terms of things like the butterfly effect, which is the idea of having to choose one path instead of other paths in life in general. And even just the idea of life being unfair. And there's all these other things coming to play with it. There's not necessarily one so-called overtime of this will be the only problem that we'll ever have to have, and therefore, no. There's just, it may have interesting flavors of other fears, but there's nothing wrong with seeing the other subjective fears, other subjective goals, not just objective goals, because objective can sound like it's connotatively a goal, but as a definition. But that's his own context, but yeah, life is long, and I'll say this because it does depend on how you use it. But at the same time, even if you didn't feel like it was long, it was still gonna be there for you, whether you used it in a certain way or not. So that's what I'll leave that for now. Also, slow pace cultivation. So, what is a slow pace? You're just taking your time. Again, you're making the most of it, but you're still going at your own pace. As per everyone having their own pace to go in time, you always have your own lane to swim in, and that's not something to be ashamed of. It's not even something to be so-called thinking that you're being selfish. No. Slow-paced cultivation is the idea that you are taking care of things in a slow manner, knowing that in the actual long run, you'll have more compounding in that amount of time. In the long run, you'll be able to have more than if you went straight ahead to things that were rushing from a sort of a don't wait kind of perspective. Because don't wait can help a lot for some people, but not everybody, right? Because the idea of don't wait is like, don't procrastinate, don't be in your head all the time, yada, yada, yada. But like, or don't even worry about the risks that could or could not be more real than they need to be. But that's not the only thing to be worried about. Not even the thing you should be worrying about. But as far as slow-paced cultivation, you just basically make sure that you're taking your own steady pace and know that that's not the end of it. You can still get a lot more out of being patient with yourself, and because all good things do come to those who wait. Balance can be overkill. Freaking going full throttle or tabooing on certain other actions, 0% or 100%, and not balancing that even then. There doesn't have to be black and white even if it's 0% or 100%, because those are overkill polar extremes. Though there are a lot of things that don't have to be as sensible as anything else. Balance is not always key, but you can certainly find out for yourself. And one last thing I'll add in this video as a bonus, without taking too long to just sit here and meditate. Maybe I'll meditate at the end of the video, if that makes sense. We'll talk about wanting things when you finally know what your life is like being born. And I keep bantering on the idea of not understanding my existence. It's kind of a not as much a philosophical woo thing that it is really like a, wow, I'm grateful for still looking young. I'm grateful for still being 26 and having opportunities as a true man and kid, and whatever that means. A grown adult who thinks he has youthfulness both in his attitude and in his spirit, and still has the manhood that he has right now, literally. Something like that. But wanting things when you know that you have that time to figure that out, and still realizing, in tandem with the last 2 points, being life being long and slow-paced cultivation. This is actually all following the same topic, and I didn't mean to. But it was still supposed to be peaceful and tranquil in that sense. You know, taking its time, being chill. In its own way. Wake. The wanting of things when you know you finally had time to work them out, this is partially having to be thankful and grateful for the fact that I took my time with what was here and not worrying about what happened, good or bad, and then still working through with them over time. And so pushing through, being as stubborn as I am, pushing through the BS and making sure that I live with my life no matter what actually happened or did not happen in it, and a good or bad way. And then seeing that it was all worth it in the end, and even going forward, because the top of the first mountain and even the next mountain to come is always the bottom of the next mountain thereafter. So when you climb a mountain, if it's your first mountain you think of, the top of that mountain is the bottom of the next, and the top of that next mountain is the bottom of another mountain. And that's my point here, is that enjoying the process may seem retarded. Sorry. Enjoying the process may seem dumb and kind of like corny and uncomfortable and even inconceivably like weird. But if you are able to enjoy the process as best you can, even if it's not easy at first, you will find much more gratitude and joy when you finally do get the things you want. Objective rewards, deeper truths, the things that seem very, very real, and having to know what you're actually doing with your life, even if you don't actually have to know what you're doing to get to that point. But many people who did want to have some form of planning, a little bit of planning before they take action, and then still be grateful for whatever is actually there. See, I don't have to keep benching on this other thing about like being in my room or my house all the time, almost all the time, not really traveling physically elsewhere other than my job or my other stuff I do. But even people like me who find gratitude in just being where I am physically and even sentimentally in my head, spiritually, all that, emotionally, financially, romantically, whatever. The thing that comes to me is I know that there are things that are more real than I can understand right now. I know that there are things I haven't done yet that I could be doing that could be good for me. I know that there's a way to make things better, more than I even understand right now. And I know that there's a bigger world out there for me someday, if I shall get to it right away, or someday soon, or someday eventually. It's not that I don't know that there are things I don't actually know. I'm aware that there's more I could be learning, there's more I could be doing that I can realize right away. I'm not the know-it-all guy who thinks that he can humble himself even then and still not know any better about doing something better with his life. I know that too, without knowing everything else. I'm not trying to be stubborn in that regard. What I'm saying is that this life is very beautiful, even without having to use a set of going against so much of nihilism and I may be about that before a little bit, going against some grain of, even if there's tools and ways to make the most out of life, you don't have to, but it's not impossible either. And then you can still find ways to make things work, no matter how you're born or growing up or living your life, whether you think you're older or younger. Whether if even age is a number, we don't have to be too stubborn or weird about that in any fashion, I guess. But the idea that you still have time to do what you want and you're never too old to do what you want. And the thing being that with wanting things, it's better to truly want than to already have. But you certainly will find answers to things you want and then more. This is coming in full circle with a lot of the videos I made before. Getting the answers to what you want in life and then some more. And more of what you want than you realized. As some of the people have said in famous quotes. There's more to this life than you will ever want to have to expect out of it being too long or short. Not getting what you want right away, not getting the common sense factors of what you knew ahead of time and you still got screwed over. that relatable, unique feeling, and unique, relatable if you grew up in a good family or maybe you had a good childhood in other ways, and you still didn't know what to do with your life, and you were harder on yourself for having that much power and control of yourself. I've had a few friends where they were harder on themselves than I was to myself, because I think for me, my excuse, I guess, was being too slow, but their excuse maybe in that regard was they were too hard on themselves because they had the opportunity to not mess up and they still did. And they were like, oh my gosh, this couldn't have happened. I might as well have been under accountable myself. I'm under accountable too. I was always not holding myself responsible for things I did or didn't do. And part of that was because I didn't know any better anyways. Even if I did, I would still overcomplicate or overstimulate how I did these things. So it's like a big gamut of that. I've ideally made this video 40 minutes, but I don't know if I can push out long. Not the timing's weird, not so much the time to do it, but we'll push for maybe 12 minutes. If I stop at 10, you're lucky. Nah, not lucky for not how much anymore. Actually, let's push for 16 minutes. If we go for 10 minutes, it's because I have to hurry up, but I don't know. Whatever, we'll do 16. 16 to 20, if we can. 16 to 20 minutes. What else would I talk about like that? We will meditate for the next 2 minutes, no more, no less. Here we go. Just say no. And it was 9 minutes, so I love it. I'm only pulling my eyes up a little early because I know that overkill 3 minutes or more wouldn't be so bad, but now you know how I feel about making content without having to realize it right away after the video starts. Like, having to worry about, wait a minute, you'll do a 2-minute meditation in the middle of a video that doesn't even make sense at first and still has wasted my time after 2 minutes? How dare you, Otto? How dare you make 2 minutes of meditation be useful and regrettable at the same time? No. You keep talking right now. You keep being awesome right now. No. Okay, so last topic or last two topics. We'll just sit here, look in the camera for the first topic or two. Don't worry, I'm almost done. Screwing over, I guess. I'm still also buying myself time thinking about what's necessary, I guess. So 2 more topics. Okay, not just 3. Whatever. We'll do what we can. There are some really creepy utilities I can work with. There was a time I told my grade school therapist that if you think about the bottom of the bottles, how these are factory produced little dents in the bottom. It's not just the fact that you think about these things. It's the example you use them for. You talk about something like that, and it's like, wait, I don't even know what you're talking about. You talk about something like, I feel like my hand, the way I look at my hand at school or at my job, feels different from when looking at my hand at home or across the street doing a jog. And people are like, what the heck? It's not even just being controversial, like being controversial. It's just literally like you're talking about something that makes sense, but the utility of it being understood even then still doesn't have to be real. So there's layers to how this works. Like there's the communication layer, obviously. Then there's the intricacy level, which is how maybe deep or controversial it could be. So that includes some of the other social skills or attributes to some form of diplomacy or whatever that can also still connect closer intricately to communication, not just be its own intricacy of controversy. So communication, controversy. Oh, behind communication is if they even notice you or even know you're there or exist. So the reality, the communication, the depths of the controversy or the philosophy, and then if they believe your message, and then if you actually make that message something that they will literally do something about. And so there's all those layers. They're not relevant to each other, but they still connect somehow. So and also the other thing is that, like, You don't have to. I talked about this in the last Deep Talk promotional content. You don't have to believe in the message you're promoting. Likewise, and contrary to that, you can still go against a message that you made up yourself. So the way that this works, I don't even have to explain that, guys. Like I have to explain at some point because I'm one of the only people who seems to talk about this stuff like this. But maybe, but I hope you can wrap that around your own self, unwind that kind of idea over time. And for the last 3 minutes, not even applying an end card content, this time around, the 16 to 20 minutes, right? So and you notice how I plan out these lengths of time, ending on the exact end of a minute, without even a second ahead. And then because I know YouTube adds in like 15 frames to a 30-second, like they add like a slightly a majority of a second amount of frames in a second. So when YouTube embeds a video, it starts as an unimpromptu video. So it's never an invalid video, nor is it more than 2 seconds for no reason. So they always make it so it actually ends up being a video, no matter how much you troll them for some reason. So any like video that happens to be over a second or over almost 24 hours or 11 hours, and yeah, but and I don't even know how they make the freaking over 24-hour videos. Like Jesus, that'd be doing Twitch day streams of service. Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about some of the things like collaborations and maybe unstable peoples without calling them that. We'll be more polite than that, but when you do a collaboration, you're not supposed to get into it thinking, I'll finally find a way to see if what I'm doing in my own entire life has actually made sense or been proper or not, or even been beautiful. Because if I could do a collaboration and it looks like to the other person that I'm a weirdo, I failed in life. No. Don't even go into a collaboration with that expectation entirely. Like, I'm being serious. Like, do the collab because it'll be fun. Don't do it because it has an element of truth about what you're doing as a creator and as a human being. Don't do that, please. Trust me. It will help so much if you do collaborations that are actually meant to be fun. Even if you lose subscribers, even if you lose your identity a little bit for some weird reason, they'll be fun, and they don't have to be about being lonely. Because I'm not trying to like banter on the wrong things here or be a jerk or something like that. I'm just saying, like, do it for your own cause, as long as that cause seems to be not hurting other people and yourself. Oh my gosh, that universal theme thing, the thing with like, do what makes you happy as long as it doesn't hurt other people, and that there's no controversy in saying the devil's advocate of that, being that, oh, but if it doesn't hurt other people, then how do you know it's helping yourself? And that's a very cynical way of thinking. It could be a bit pessimistic. It's like, of course there's a way to do something civil and peaceful without hurting people that makes you happy, but it's like, but when you back up the contrary devil's advocate of that, it can sound scary and even forbidden. So you have to be careful how you say that. But even then, it's up to you to decide what's best for you, even if that's broken as a rule in itself. But the thing with collaborations is that you do indeed find out more about yourself than you find about the other person. Deeper truth. As far as the birthday cake deeper truth that I won the Phil Courage guy, that was pretty cool. Nikhil, I'll comment that video, it was pretty fun. That Captain Sinbad, from No Effect and the other film industry stuff. Oh, and Captain Sinbad even commented a little bit on Robin Willis, which surprised me a little bit, honestly. Let's talk a little bit about. So we're gonna talk about collaborations. Let's jump across the other topic, which was gonna be about like doing what makes you happy with other content. I probably already covered a tiny bit in the Deep Talk promo, but we'll talk a tiny bit about Lucky Star Anime, about the Yin Hertz Titan that's over there, whatever, and we'll jump start the last minute on 20 for doing what makes you happy, even if it means that you do indeed sacrifice the professionality of knowing who you really are and not just what you could be doing with finances or expectations or whatever else. And those aren't even qualified away anyways. Even though qualifications themselves are kind of BS compared to like college and job or whatever. All that good stuff. The Lucky Star anime was pretty fun. I didn't finish it. I didn't go through much of it. The reason I get drawn to Lucky Star is because I actually like the idea of it being boring. Because my own life story, my own lifestyle as a whole, feels very much like its own form of entertainment. So the way I view actual supposed entertainment for anti-boredom reasons or fictionally non-spiritual or freaking non-bloated or non-crazy or non-sizzle non-worrying about fiction being the expectations you don't have to have but still do about your friendships and whatever people have said about fiction and entertainment. That's what that last thumbnail was saying basically, is that fiction is to entertainment as intent is to position. And what that literally means, even though I just went over the whole picture doing that, is that it's like everything's connected, but you don't have to know that within your own field. Your cursor, your mouse cursor of yourself is a radius around everything that encompasses your own experiences. Even if those are the only experiences you had, they connect if you encircle other environments and circumstances and surroundings. So, for example, if you're that cursor, you might not know what League of Legends is, or Donald Trump, or McDonald's, or McDonald's, or Mickey D's. All those are names for it. Oh my gosh. But you do know what it's like to work at a law firm, or you do know what it's like to work as a painter simultaneously as a law firm attorney. So you have these other experiences that you could see for yourself. You could certainly imagine, because from my experience, it was like being born was like having an explosion. This could be a bit of a starseed Fosse or starseed kind of spiritual thing. An explosion of seemingly universal objective experiences in one go as soon as you're born, and then everything collects as if you think you know everything. And it's not you. It's not you trying to brag about that without knowing better. It's the feeling of being omniscient without worrying about what you don't know, even if you should know better, even if you're that humble to do so. But so yeah, Lucky Star was that feeling. It was that feeling of feeling in place with something that didn't have to be an anime. It didn't have to be a boring slice of life anime or even a what they call a sitcom. Not necessarily Lucky Star, but the idea of it being that boring and still feeding my life with the boredom that I'm entertained by, because my own life is so entertaining that anything's boring is my own form of entertainment. The last 20 seconds I'll use on this video is why wanting something in spite of expectations is good. You do not want to have to worry about expectations by the cliche of it. More than that, however, when you want something when you feel young, or when you want something when you know that you have a chance to make it work for yourself in spite of what you made work before, you're ready to go.
Hello everyone. This won't be anything too special. We're not wearing any extreme getup like the jackets and the beanie caps and even the karate attire, just other extreme getups and attires, nonetheless. But yeah, we won't go too far on this video. This is actually going to just be about the three economies I define when I'm on this current proverbial mountain: the communication, action, and integrity. And that would be basically just how I go about like some of the things on the current mountain, as we never stop climbing mountains in life, but we always have to make sure that we climb them nonetheless, and they will always say that these things are worthwhile, and even the moment we're in. And so these three things aren't necessarily my actual problems. They're not even problems I should really be facing per se, but they're the problems I define as being important in my life. And so they're like and sometimes they're even gifts in themselves. They're even strengths. They're things that I deal with. This video will be straight up 25 minutes. And so in my time zone, this ends at about 3 p.m. as I'm recording. We started about maybe around 2:35 p.m. So yeah, you guys know how this works. I start and stop videos strictly on their own time, even if it's not quality content. Another trauma, but we can get that if we need to. I'm not pushing too hard to make this video good, or even legitimately legibly legible. But there you go. So communication. I referenced the Incredibots forums and Gang Garrison to IRC to an extent. I mentioned some other stuff like how in grade school I had some other issues, or how even in college and some like my job or environments of my social life, even on YouTube itself, and even other things I've done in my life. A lot of these other issues concerned with the three economies in particular, not just communication, but there is a weird flip of the coin where I'll either make too much sense or not sensical at all. And there's this idea that oh, I have the potential to sound great, I just need to work on it. Missing the point for people who are of that society, right? But that's started somewhere. I don't know what I'm trying to talk about. In itself, well, so the thing with the communication is that we are pitting heads with the one side. I don't have to make it called sides anyways, but the one side who wants everyone, or at least particular people like me, to make sense, to make the most of their time, if even what they're saying. And then pitting a bullhead with me where I'm like, but The whole point of me doing it like this is to be myself and to actually express myself in a way that makes sense to me and isn't trying to be selfish but still tries to revolutionize and innovate how I use the communication in the first place in a way that breaks some of those normal rules but still allows me to communicate myself anyways and still express myself in a deep, insightful way. And the problem with that is that if you choose to communicate in a way that society doesn't expect you to, you're in for a really rude awakening. You face a lot of ideals for grammar and etiquette, and you guys seen some YouTube shorts. You know what I'm talking about a little bit, maybe if you do. If you've seen some of the shorts from every 10 set series, every 10, sometimes every once in a while, like 10 shorts in the same hour, and they'll all be about different topics and relevant to each other, maybe. But it's that's the gamut of my problems with communication. It's not just so much that I don't know how to communicate, but that I don't even know how to accept communication rules and use them properly to socialize with 8, 9, 10 billion people on the planet, just so that I can get along with them or even make the most of our time. Our very hand in hand with just knowing that, oh, what if you never really knew who your self was or other people were because you never got to exchange ping pong ideas? It's like, sure, if not even never from experience. Obviously I had done it from my own experience, but just however that applies itself. But it's a very weird thing to philosophize and revolutionize communication if you're supposed to use it in a certain way to begin with. And it's like, yeah, I can definitely, I don't have too much time to get into this in 25 minutes, let alone for the other two topics. But I'll explain one story relevant to the Incredibots forums that I can probably relay the best to you guys. One of the admins at the time, who eventually became an admod at the time, he was one of my closer friends, and he always had his boundaries. He had his own issues, but everyone else's issues. It's like one of the times that he addressed me in a private message was that, and I'll explain this in detail without showing you guys receipts anyways, but like, he says word for word that this is not a warning or a reminder, nor is it anything of a casual sort. It's a sort of an in-between flip side. I'd like to address that your communication skills and speech patterns might have to adjust themselves. In his own very specific title, Making Coherent Posts, and it's like he says, I would like you to address this in the most clear fashion as soon as possible, but please do not add fluff in return. And it's like, so I send a little message back the best I can, as strictly as I can, maybe a little too hard on myself. But you do what you gotta do. And then he says, thanks for responding back, I was a little busy. I understand if you find this very hard, but I'd like to illustrate this one example. He wants it to be illustrated in his own life, by the way. Not involved, but I'd like to illustrate this one example. Look at people in real life and think about how that compares to you and your situation and everyone else on these forums. If you look at some of your posts, you'll realize that they don't reflect a lot of what people in real life, not in real life, do compared to how they speak and how you speak. It's not necessarily the same thing. It's not necessarily in the same manner. Think about how that compares and how you can maybe approach that from a common denominator and go from there. And so you all know how that's going to get my philosopher abstract philosophy but out of the question. Yeah. Not so much to be contrarian or to be proving someone wrong, but to be the deeper truth of being yourself and authenticity compared to someone's communication skills in general, full stop. Simply put, obviously. Yeah, hurts, dude. You already know how I feel right now, hopefully. You're like, well, dude, admod, that's the whole point of what I'm doing, is to revolutionize those societal status quo expectations. I'm not trying to force people to not believe me or to confuse people and troll them or make them angry or waste their time, whatever, and make them feel like they're responsible for something and that's actually my fault. I'm still revolutionizing and innovating my own thing, like with communication. I'm not even trying to be like everyone else in real life IRL or on the internet, however that completes itself. Yes, right? So it's a weird amalgam. It's a very weird amalgam of that. Like, why would that be an example? Like, of all things, oh, there's one thing I can get into for communication one more time. There is, and some of you watching my videos are like this already. This is why I made the YouTube short about autism, vaccines, and myth, and teasing stuff about emotional context. But like, there are people who will deliberately pretend to have multi-personality disorder, who will fake, not autism really, not really autism spectrum disorder, but like, there are people who will pretend and fake believe they're multi-personality and bipolar disorder, because it's not even like that in the first place. As in, not quotations, but like, they'll pretend to have multi-personality disorder and bipolarism because they're trying to communicate something that has nothing to do with those things. What they're really doing is expressing themselves creatively and authentically in a way that has nothing to do with the DSM-5. They're trying to communicate something that's deeper than that. That they are a different person between communication mediums in real life, on the internet, written word, verbally spoken. They do this between their phone and their one-on-one interactions in real life, and their journals on the article website they work for, and their social medias, and their video game chat, and their personal letters to themselves for shadow work. They do, and even prayer or whatever else. They do this on purpose. They're not the same person between mediums. Oh, you think, oh, I'm myself in real life. I'm one-on-one. Hello, real life person, human being. I'm myself. Oh, meet me on social media so I can do the exact same speech communication medium, which is literally impossible anyways. To communicate the exact same way that I do in real life, so that you can see more of me, more of what you already understand. This is going to get somewhere deep, by the way. So one of you who are from my friends and family group, don't take this personally. But like, seeing more of me than you've already known your entire life, even more than what you've already known your entire life, and then you'll see even more of that than more of me, and then you'll see more of me on this other. No, not everyone, not generalistically, not ever. There are some people, if not more people, who will deliberately use communication mediums to communicate different things about who they are, authentically. Especially those of you who do not communicate everything about who they are in the first place. Not to keep it a secret so much, well, partially, but to actually take care of the responsibility that is being a personality on the earth, unique or not. And you can't reveal everything about yourself, can you? Even if you wanted to. And it just comes down to this idea where you're not worrying about what people think of you, but still can take care of yourself nonetheless. And it's like the communication medium's differentiation and variety strategy is not done by psychopaths. It's literally a strategy that works for something that actually people may not believe at first. They may think that it's impossible to want to do that for a logical reason. Oh, I dare say not. It's like, people have probably done more than I have in this entire 1997 to 2024 life. Okay, like, you can't tell me between March 4, 1997 and January 29, 2024 that this guy will get his errands for being weird in social communication and social environments, dynamics, connections, all that. Oh no, not necessarily. I bet people have had these ideas for a long ass time. Like, there's even this one idea I can communicate that I'll get to the other topics in a second, but like, that comes down to you just using universal themes and even things you can express early on in life as best as possible. You wonder how the video game League of Legends expresses a really cool idea about anime-esque video game characters in 2009 and going forwards as best they can over the years, even if they dwindle a bit. How they do that really well. How some universal themes can be expressed in Avatar: Last Airbender, or even what's a real old movie in the 20th century? Not Soylent Green. That'd be a little too dark. But anything like that, like some other cinema, or even the first Godzilla, the first King Kong, the first Wizard of Oz, stuff like that. You express universal themes as early as possible. Oh, they wouldn't have known that in the Lucky Star anime or in Hyuga or Wandering Witch Elena. They wouldn't have known that early on in the years. It's been eons since then. They wouldn't have known that. Well, joke's on you guys in the 21st century, in almost the end of the last quarter of the first 21st century. They knew. And not only did they know, it was obvious in their time, as it is now. It does not matter what generation or timeline you find yourself in. You're literally going to be in the midst of both a lot of blessings and curses. It does not matter what timeline you're on. You have your own set of blessings and curses. But the things that you'll know in that timeline may or may not be obvious to you, or even the point, whether the fact or not, how that works, how that's supposed to work. You never really know anything on a buzz level. You certainly will always have something on a resourceful level. Positive or not, pessimistic or not, how that communicates. But in closing on the first topic of 3, it's just people will communicate differently on different mediums, not because they work in different ways anyways by default. Those functions and systems are objects in anyways. They already work by default like that. But some people will do it on purpose even further because they're trying to communicate different parts of their personality and soul and spirit that they can't do if they just do the same freaking thing everywhere else. Like, it's obviously more of me, and the trauma that I have with more of me is that people didn't even know who I was the first time. So when they expand on that, they may have good intentions, but it's like they're learning more than they already knew before about me in a way that they're totally throwing out the window. And it's like, it's frustrating to deal with that. It's actually almost as worse as the honor curse. I'm sorry. Some of the people who are the closest to you are actually your deepest haters, and not all of them are, but like, and some of the people who are actually supposed to be rooting for you, which they'll claim they root for you, and even that they have good intentions and the best interests at heart, actually are going to hate you if you succeed. And that's just a sad part of life. It's like some of the closest people to you will hate it when you succeed, and some of the people who are supposed to be supporting you wouldn't even tolerate a poor grammatically incorrect communication from you, even if you really were revolutionizing and innovating the communication speech patterns on end for the time being, or even the time on ever. In closing of communication, that's basically why on the Crabouts forums, Game Garrison 2, IRC, real life, grade school, you name it, my whole life in general, how different communication mediums I would communicate differently on purpose. I would be chipper and ecstatic on maybe the internet, like some of you are, but then serious and stoic and intellectual in real life, or even the other way around, how that works. In closing, yeah. On we are with action orientation. I'll take the beanie off for this one. I don't suck at taking action. I just don't take enough of it, right? And even just saying action rotation instead of action for like a communication thing, we don't have to battle out too much. Guys, I won't lie. I like the idea that do something scary every day helps people. Whether people are just, I'll say this on a YouTube video, literally Soul Jack or Soy Boys, about like how they won't even worry about doing something that actually matters to them, let alone if it's controversial and politically correct, whatever the hell. Nonetheless, whether that's important or not, neither here nor there, whatever the hell that quote means, but you do have to take action eventually. And even the quote that people do things for you if you don't do it for yourself, that's not necessarily true, but there's truth to it anyways. I may be lying about that in itself. But you do generally want to take action. People are not stupid enough to not ever take action, usually. And there's a lot that goes, if you just saw the first 10, 15 minutes by me talking about communication, revolutionizing innovation in communication, then you know that I mean this in the same way with action orientation. It's like, I mean this with all sincerity. People who even are stupid to not take action aren't actually being stupid themselves. So it's like, it's a different amalgam of that. It's like deadlines, by the way, time. Not even thanatophobia, but more like time itself. It's like how things are deadlined. The problem with deadlines isn't that you don't have enough time. The problem with deadlines is that they're pre-assumptive. They're like, oh, you would have to do this anyway, so why would you not do it at all? It's like, because you make it look like this is a weird, irrelevant connection to make, but you know that one saying that, I'm not going to get onto the sense too much, I'll get back to the action rotation soon, and the timelines, and deadlines, but you know that one saying that you better tell me that you did this bad thing before it's too late? Manipulative trolling. I'm not kidding. That's actually manipulative trolling, or what the kids are calling cringe, and not cringe instead of trolling. How the hell does that work, dude? This day and age, man. I'm not even a whatever. But like, Christ. But it's just like the video you have to. But like, there's no point in telling someone that you better tell them you did something right or wrong before it's too late, and then make a moot point about it, which I keep using a word on purpose, that doesn't exist, I guess, but as if that would work in a legitimate sense. Oh, it's because they would do the right thing anyways if they really cared. That's not even the point, dude. That's a broken That's a broken system. That's like saying, I bet I can make a good example about this. I bet. But I bet something that will resonate with this next example. That's like saying, I'm so sorry, man. I'm gonna make you use an example. Since it's short. Not really, but well, that's telling someone that they have to tell you what they did wrong before it's too late, before they find out themselves, why that's like going in a direction without destination in mind. Sure, it'll be peaceful and even meaningful at times, but you'll go to places you may not have expected, and most likely it won't be worth it. Sorry, EB. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Nathaniel or Environmental Bot. I had to, because you're not right about that. And I'm saying that directly because and bluntly because that's how I felt when I read that quote. Is that it's like even the one never combined science, politics, and religion. I disagree with that strongly. My own experiences with no fat retention, and then agorism and freaking spirituality manifestation and the other stuff, shadow work with Carl Jung, other stuff. Doesn't take a unique person or not to do that, and even that's a little bit of its own fallacy. But that's again neither here nor there. We have a little bit of time to go for the last topic, so I'll try to close it up real quickly. So when you tell someone that they don't have that they better tell you what they did wrong or before they find out themselves, that is a bit of a backwards narcissistic manipulation. And if they don't realize it, they're lying to you anyways, even if they don't realize it. It's like that could be a bit of my own projection, that could be a bit of my own bias, being like, oh well, of course I would say something like that just to have a point to prove. Maybe so. But at least it gets the idea out there, and it's like I wouldn't lie to you guys about this if I didn't have a point to make anyway in the first place. But I hope that would help. So that's why timelines and deadlines are kind of annoying. It's like you don't want to have to believe that there's some way to make something work in a limited tick tock time, and then not TikTok. Well, I can make that short later about I know place rules don't exist on your show, but where deadlines are just that bullshit, and it's like yes, you have to do something. You have to always do something. You can't do nothing. That's kind of the thing with career and school and all that. It's like they don't want you to literally do nothing on your butt all day, and hence why I even do things myself that are a little bit out there, or not necessarily too compact and strict or practical. But there you go. Last topic. Oh, okay. That's the example. Actual orientation. You have to do something. Integrity. Okay. 5 minutes for this. I had a broken world compass for a long while. Making the first bigger series of my cartooning experiences in cartoonist ways. But no one calls it cartooning if they're in the art and animation age. They don't call it traditional syndicated cartooning and cartoonist. Like when I found this out when I was younger, would I have gone to like web design and art and animation, like a web art and digital art, and be like, oh, I'm a cartoonist. What's a cartoonist? You're an artist. You should know this. Oh, is it that thing you call yourself in like the 1970s? Dude, get to the times, Cashman. Get with the times. Go to CalArts or Goldman's or some crap. Okay, I shouldn't have said that on a video I recorded, period. But like, not a bigger art school anyways, or even a smaller art school, campus, whatever. But, so, moral compasses and making like Good Evil, Algebra, Project Tether, all those other cartoon series. Even, of course, what you've seen lately with Stereotype Land, other ones. But, and that sign and whatever else I mixed in with the other characters. But, Good Evil Chronicles was the moment where I realized that I had a weird way of seeing right and wrong. Because by the time I make Good Evil Chronicles, Crab the Clockwork, Darg the Dargless, Lloyd and Jack the Demons, and other characters are alike. Because even for the sake of algebras like Anne Sword, Christopher Feather, Olful, Lisk, and Boyd Cascade, having infinite friends with deep meaningful relationships, and then just having a mathematical project way that approach life without multitasking too hard, but being a multitasking extrovert nonetheless. So that kind of thing happened with algebras. With Good Evil Chronicles, it's like, okay, so Crab's a belong clockwork robot with like weird gears and places for eyes, and then like just a freaking hook shot for some reason. I don't have time to explain that. A light being who's a clockwork, and then his friend's an emotionally charged person. So like Crab's the logic, Darg's the emotion, Lloyd and Jack are the morals, and then the sentimentalness is the essence of everything else, or even the antiquary ghost or where else. Something else. Maybe it could even just be Jack's sentiment. Jack could be sentiment, and Lloyd could be the morals. And Darg's emotion, Crab is logic. And then Matrix dimension of the existing dimensions. So making a cartoon series like Good Evil makes sense if I wanted to have creativity that was combining sci-fi with fantasy and all the other elements. And it's like, oh, well, that's just creative. Darg's creatures are unique, yay! But it's inspired by Bones and Rayman and other ones. And to an extent, Gravity Falls is Mabel. But I had a weird moral compass for a long time. It's not that I didn't believe in right and wrong. It's that I didn't know how to wrap my mind around things that happened in the wake of my own life. the laws and rules of the Incredibots forums in real life in grade school and all other things. My sexual assault allegations and ability to be a better or poor communicator depending on how I use speech in a rule manner without being too serious about those rules, but still following the rules of life while still being myself, as if that could have been easier for Tony Cashman. But so following the rules, you've seen some of the Human Game Concast videos. Some of them were particular about that. Not being a jackass, not being selfish apparently, not being doing something wrong for the wrong reason, not doing something wrong for the right reason, being a better-oriented person, not making excuses, not being someone who would not do anything different. My moral compass is not necessarily broken, but it is still weird, dude. Like, I never thought I would be a person who would have a problem with laws and rules and certain other things in life and communication and action orientation until it came to the point where I had those as a problem in the first place. I still feel like to this day, if people are so bad teaching you what right and wrong is, they could actually be worse than you. And not so much, oh, if two people are bad, they're both in the same league anyways, even if one's worse than the other. No. If someone is so bad that they not only tell you what right or wrong is, and no excuse, factually, eternally correct kind of thing. Oh, why would you do the wrong thing on purpose? You know what's right, know what the right answer is for creative reason. Do the right, correct thing for being creative and beautiful and artist. No. You don't know what creativity is. Shut up. Like, most of you artists don't know what creativity is, and I will die on a hill with that on this last minute recording. But integrity is not easy. Life is both hard and complicated. Many of you know this. Many of you think you were going to like take your lives on a world that didn't like love you, and I want you to know people do love you. People do care, and even in a nihilistic, apathetic perspective, it's like people do have a reason to be here. Whether you have to have promise kept for yourself, however dark and comfortable and soothing the forest is in the 1980s. No, not the 1880s, whatever time that was. That poem is very remarkable. End card. That poem is very remarkable. It's not about so much that you have to do something, which you would at accreditation, but you have a promise to keep for yourself. You have it to keep for yourself. You have no one to prove to yourself but anyone else, but yourself. But don't prove yourself to anyone, really.
Welcome back to Channel Marshgarth, also known as eventually to be announced TBA, aka Sayris 26. My last day being 26 years old is March 3rd, 2024, and that is not my mistake. I made this Sayris 26 alias like right a month or two after turning 26. So now that I'll be 27, it might as well be a staple name on the Marshgarth franchise. It's like Marshgarth channel. So Marshgarth will turn into Sayris 26. If not, it'll be both Marshgarth and Sayris 26. But here's Marshgarth. So we're gonna talk about can boundaries be silly? And so I was supposed to do a weird funny voice where I just talk like a high horse bastard for a bit. But for the sake of knowing that you probably guys already know I run 3 other channels, but at the bare minimum even, the Tony Cashman personal channel, the I will always march forth Tony Cash channel, the main one, and then there's a Glow Spinner, Diggs being the experimental extra one, and so Marshgarth is this one, aka 626 is now. So if I start calling this channel Sayris 26, that's why. It's because it's a little bit of a rebrand. Even the art will be a little different if I get to that point. But can boundaries be silly? There is one boundary that someone set, a good friend of mine, not even too long of a friend, but this is a really good friend of mine who set this one boundary that starts to turn heads a little bit. And to each their own, because these boundaries are important to set in the first place. You should already have them if you don't already. But sometimes we don't want to have goofy examples of boundaries. And even the boundaries we do to protect ourselves are still kind of weird in their own right, can still be good to protect ourselves. But sometimes we kind of shoot ourselves in the foot with these things, because we end up setting boundaries like the idea of the song where you wall yourself in the same location. Like we would use to describe narcissists and all that. And don't use the word narcissist too loosely, by the way, if you can't help it, but because not everyone's actually a narcissist. But for the record, that song is based on, I think, a little bit of narcissism, where you wall yourself in a place to protect yourself and it ends up locking yourself in. That's the kind of same energy that silly boundaries can give. Truly silly boundaries. And like, I'm going to make this example for the case of the Marshgarth YouTube channel, because even on YouTube it's not easy to talk about, but the death job. Okay, so what if your boundary, and I'm going to quote this person a little bit because I'm not trying to get on that case. They are a good friend of mine, but this is one boundary that they have, which is to not give them medical advice or attention. You can praise them, you can hope for the best, but you can't tell them what to do. medically speaking, or even suggest questions about things that you don't even know enough about their life, so to speak. It's a good boundary in some ways, but this is where it starts to get a little concerning. It's like when people suggested ivermectin and did you get the death jab, and she immediately retorts how ivermectin in itself was a horse replenishment kind of thing. And as we all know, the horse paste thing about ivermectin, some of the memes about that, even some of the ways where people are missing the whole point about ivermectin and hydrochloroquine. And we all know where this leads to with the Koof narrative and the death jab. It's like it comes down to like things like, well, we're not trying to piss you off about the vaccine or the virus. We're just trying to help you out here. If you really did go through some of these things, any of them in particular, we just want to know. You don't have to tell us everything. Just let us know if you're okay, right? So it's just and what she ends up doing is saying, not so much addressing the death jab, which sadly enough could be its own horror, to say the least, but addressing the horse paste of the ivermectin, and then even going down to like, this is exactly why I have this boundary, is to not have medical advice for things you guys already know about. Well, what if she doesn't know enough about it, Not just her audience. So what if it was a biased third party perspective of too many cooks in the kitchen? I don't even believe that by myself as an Oxford philosopher, thank you main channel. Or even personal experimental channels for that matter. But like, as a philosopher, I don't have to see it that way. Even as an anarchist, as a NoFap and sewer intentionist, as a spiritual person on the law of path journey, shower with Carl Jung style, all these things, like retentionist or NoFap, agorist class theory, any of these other things, I don't have to be like that. But it's kind of weird. These boundaries are truly silly. It's like we're not trying to screw you over. We care. We care. We're not even trying to have something to prove most of the time. We actually legitimately care. And that the death jab is just one example of a silly boundary. It's like of that example. It's like when you can actually look forward to somebody succeeding in their life and even hopefully surviving, God forbid. It's just like, this is what gets on my nerves sometimes. It's like, it just I don't know why these people, and they're some of them are real good friends of mine, and that's why I'm not trying to hold them by an example or even leak their name right now. But like, that's what it comes down to. Like, seriously, guys, if you know anyone like that who shoots themselves in the foot unforgivingly, and they still know that they're not like actually trying to do it, just to each their own, really. Like, just let me know in the comments down below what you think of silly boundaries, and I'll see you guys later next time. I know I lost a subscriber out of the 16. I'm sorry about that, but I know a lot of you guys out of my 4 channels on bare minimum trademark, that a lot of my current subscribers, even Marscarf or Sarah's 26 now, still watch my content, and I'm thank you for that. Whether it's anarchist VOSAs or dank memes, it's still gonna be wherever it is. But there are some memes I still might release here, but I'm releasing more of the memes on the MMA channel. But there's one more anarchist VOS I'm gonna make later on that I think you guys will like a lot. So take care. Spinning in unison, coerce as they may, the machine of gears brought forth today a silent bastion of hope. Not before more germs bestow more terms. Not talking about lyrics, whatever. Efforts are indeed bestowed. Rest of vegetation. Instagram desktop uploads, please work this time. I couldn't even upload like 3 other pics or 5 other pics from the last time. I had to pick one of those for like the astrology image, but it was still nice though. I have like these 9 other pictures on my desktop alone that were pretty fun to make alone, but I probably should I can make longer videos on Instagram, like 1 minute limit. I think it's like 4 minutes like this TikTok, but like 3 to 4 minutes like TikTok, depending if or. But yeah, that's all I got for you now. Take care, everyone. I'll release more YouTube and Instagram stuff and even Discord stuff. So take care, everyone. Bye again, indeed. Don't worry about the fly tail on the other end of my bed, which you won't be able to see anymore anyway. So whatever. I mean, you'll be able to see it right now, maybe a little bit, but. We're going to talk about some things that might seem personal, but they're very emotionally charged, and I'm going to try to carefully talk about them without being too emotionally charged about them. So, we're going to talk about why reaching out to me with or without YouTube has different contexts and dependencies, and we're going to talk about why not assuming that something has happened is a good idea all the time, at least. And then even in addition to that, if any of these get talked about at all, if any of this at all gets talked about, at the very least, talking about why it mattered when we could bring up things in the first place. Maybe not akin to the answer to hate speech is more free speech, but like things like where bringing up your issues at all is better than hiding from the issues that get brought up for the wrong reasons or even get brought up in ways that can make things worse. Things like that, like that energy. So there's the understanding, which is also in itself a misunderstanding, that we should not bring up things in public that we could have discussed in private. And that's a common theme for a lot of people in real life. Is like, don't bring this up in public if you can deal with it in private. It's like, so a lot of us who are anti-MIOB, anti-mind your own business, who are actually very much, and I made shorts about this before, who are anti-MIOB, and we talk about things where we don't want to necessarily ruin people's lives by invading their privacy and boundaries, but we still want to make sure we have enough disclosure for things that we believe abstract philosophy-wise could have still been different. And it was like, it's not so much a different aspect of cooks in the kitchen or even still worry about your own life, someone in your own lane kind of thing, but it was still our own diagnoses of things that could have still been different for other things, philosophical or not. Oh, that's not objective enough. That's not even objective in the first place. You're not being real. You're not being doing the right thing or doing the correct option, eternally correct thing. That kind of energy. So like, but so people reserve the right to maintain their privacy and boundaries for sure. But it's like the energy that comes with preventing someone from discussing their problems, whether it's private or public, is very, very wicked. It's like I didn't even discuss that part in the YouTube Shorts, which I will go through actually in a second over time, but if not already, at some point. But I could even make a short today if I can, but if I have time. But one more or two or three, depending. The idea of preventing someone from discussing something in public because you want them to discuss it in private, that can still have negative, bad context, not just good context. So like the good context is to disclose it in private so that you can deal with it the way it's supposed to be dealt with without causing more problems than necessary. The bad context is when you accidentally prevent it completely because you disclose the wrong things in private. And in public, you cancel culture that because you don't know what it's supposed to mean if it could have been in private, but you accidentally abandon the entire thing because you don't understand the outlet sources that's being used. The creative outlet source of that being disclosed, either private or public. So it's like, so in other words, someone's preference and style, if not cruciality in their own mind, of why they disclose that in public, whether it's to 150,000 people, not necessarily the social psychology thing yet, not yet like last time in the live stream, but when they disclose it in a way where they're just like, it's not only their preference and their cruciality fixated part of their mind, where it's like, okay, so they didn't have to worry about what city or province they were in to discuss something in public and exploit dox themselves. Which, by the way, even if doxing is only bad, even if it's not supposed to be a passion that hurts people or helps them, whether you do something you love without hurting people or whatever, that can still be its own thing. But the preference that they have, strongly or not, even crucial or not, to exploit themselves and their information just to get their problem-solving skills out of the way, and even things that they care about as passionate as they are for those things, passion-driven for those problem-solving skills or not. That's what they're coming down to. It's like when someone cancel cultures them from solving their problems in public because they want to figure out how to deal with that in private, or at least recommend or peacefully, casually suggest that in private. And it's like, but you have no idea what this means to me, to be able to be passionate about my problem solving. There are people out there who are uncomfortable talking about suicide, right? And you're like, but you have to be, it's not to be this inconsiderate to them from that perspective, but it's like, but people who can't talk about suicide in particular, who are uncomfortable talking about that, it's not that we never have our own insecurities and discomforts. It's just that we end up being like our own white knight sometimes, and we end up doing our own things. We could be too much of a white knight at that point, but even with that slogan, the internet term at bay, but with that example in mind, maybe, if it helps. If it does, I'm sorry. But where you have no idea how much it helps to have a passion for problem solving. Because if we can't even disclose this in public, and we especially don't want to disclose it in private, as anti-MIOB would suggest, why would you have to worry about that being in private? Because there are people like me who don't want things to be talked about in private because that hides it from other people. Why would you be worried about that then, Cashman? Why would you be worried about that? Let me get this straight to you guys. I hate MIOB. I do not like MIOB. Mind your own business. I literally don't. Like, I know what it means, like, swim your own lane. I know it has good context. There's a lot I can get to that's in defense of it. But privacy and even boundaries never got me the right way. I know I'm supposed to have boundaries regardless. I'm not supposed to have privacy and self-respect and self-responsibility and all that good stuff. I know that it matters. I know it does. But when it is used in the wrong way, in the wrong hands, not so much a coward's way describing, oh, it can be abused, because even people who describe things being abused can be prejudiced themselves. But it depends. It's like it's a very weird energy, that kind of thing. Welcome to Class of Insightful Learning, Lesson Letter Episode V Only. We're going to talk about V Only's lesson, which is going to be you always get more than you ask for. Let me repeat that. You always get more than you ask for. I made this pamphlet the day before. You can't see it really easily in the dark, but with the light paint on, it's got a little easier. So it says, I obviously my nickname and last name in cursive, the February 20th, 2024. This is a bit of a mind map between the words quality, imagination, speech, with the word compromise in the middle, and a conclusion line saying that what I just said was, you always get more than you ask for. Now, why would I write a compromise list like this? This mind map of 3 words around one and a phrase at the bottom. Well, what this means is that this is my personal take on my current wrong issues, where it's like, remember when I said stuff about communication, integrity, and action on the main channel? For those who watch me on YouTube, that's kind of what I mean by that stuff. It's like current wrong issues. It's like things that I deal with right now that could be worse later, could be brought back in the future, but they're not only issues, right? It's all good. It's like a lot of it all is all good, but these are the things that I would indeed compromise. Indeed, yes, compromising imagination, compromising speech, and compromising quality. Why would I compromise those things? It comes to humbleness and genuineness and the love of the self that I come down to when I make those decisions. It's like and knowing that I get what I want, if not more than that, in the long run, even in spite of these changes and self improvements. That's why I come up with this across. It's like that's the self trust and self love I have, even if it's still hard. And I hope people can get what I mean by that. It's like usually like people don't think, well, you don't compromise your imagination, you just let it flow. You don't. Well, of course you compromise your speech. You're supposed to either way. Compromising quality, what's the point? If it's quality, why would you compromise it? And so these questions can be answered in a simple dose of, because that's not what Tony Cashman would want to fall through for in the wrong direction. It's like, this is not the Tony Cashman I want to be. So it's like the Tony Cashman I want to be is someone who's willing to do those things, whether I like it or not, because that's who I want to be. And so it happens to be like that. But with lesson letter V, you always get more than you want. It's a simplification of getting what you want and then more, but it's like it's a good simplification. It's like when you know that the things I have to surrender a lot of things in my life, whether I really want them or not. Certainly, the world, society at large wants you to validate what you want, hobbies, interests, you name it. They want you to validate what you want. But I'm here to say that even if I really badly want some of those things, I have to be able to fill my own cup first. I have to be able to. I said this many times before. Fill my own cup, protect my own energy, prove to myself that I love myself the way I do. And those things will come with time. That has indeed, understandably, woo-woo context, but that's kind of the point here. If you guys already know, I'm a bit of astrologer, cultist, spiritualist, realist in some other ways, realist, optimist, where I accept that things can be bad, but I always include some bits, equal parts negativity, equal parts positivity in my day-to-day life. It's not always about focusing on the positive per se, but it always has a bit of positivity anyways. And the positivity is easy enough to lose track of it anyways, isn't it? So when I say things like you get more than you want, it's not supposed to be a negative context. It can be seen in a pessimistic light, like, oh, you always get more than you ask for, so if I ask for things to be not as bad, they'll be bad anyways. Not that kind of negative aspect. I'm talking about the positive kind, where it's like, if you want something truly humble and lovable in your life, maybe even more than that, you get all of that, everything you ask for, and even more than that. So that's the positive aspect of that. And it's supposed to be a positive one anyways, in my opinion. But like, that's what I mean when I say things like that. It's like, I mean to be positive, where I know that the things I can get in my life could very well be there. I'd love more than anything. I'd wish more than anything get what I want, in a humble way, or even if it was less than humble, if still be able to humble himself and hold accountability for having those things. But why wait? Why wait on myself to do those things right away when I could still love myself where I am right now, being indeed Jane Ripper style, as I said before as well. I am where I need to be right now, and there's no need to wait for that, because you can always love yourself in this moment. There's always a way, Oprah Winfrey style. How many somebody's going to mention this point? Oprah Winfrey style, to be grateful no matter where you are in your life, better or worse, in all your seasons, as one of my good friends has said one time. Thanks to her for that, saying that, because being grateful in all your shoes is not necessarily being contempt or grateful as a practice, but being grateful no matter what happened anyways. And that actually should be what I have for this lesson, letter V, in the class insightful learning. So I'm gonna try and close the rest of the lessons coming forwards with a firecracker after Z. So firecracker is gonna be FC, and so we have W, X, Y, and Z, and then firecracker. So firecracker is gonna be extra special. We're not paired with C. If we don't pair with Z, we'll have firecracker as his own lesson. There'll be a bonus lesson at the end of the course. So take care, guys. Free masterclass. Cool. Why style counts as abstract philosophy? No, I just had to look up not even a minute ago. Some of the internet searches I meant to do the entire lifetime ago in my life ago. Stuff like typing in Apple on, not Google, well, this time is Microsoft Bing relevant, because they have Copilot nowadays in this timeline. But I typed Apple into Microsoft Bing, found obviously, Apple Incorporated from the former rest in peace Steve Jobs. Before that, looking up internet forums, and I got to the Wikipedia site directly for the excellent article. And so why would I look up internet forums and Apple on the search engine? It's like, doesn't have to be that deep, but I'm gonna get that way anyways, that's who I am. Is because these are searches I want to make an entire lifetime ago. These are things I kept compelling to the things I compared to what I may have mentioned before on this Crosswind or Toy Catching channel, being the life quest and things like that nature, where it's like, do I know why these things are deep for me? Do I know why I don't understand how to live or how to understand life itself? Whether it comes down to anything like the meaning of life or anything like my own understanding of my own life story or not, anything like that in particular. But where I consider aestheticism style, because I call it style for this title for now, because if I type aestheticism for the title, it's going to be confusing. But I'll say aestheticism, this once. Aestheticism being a new type, being according to Trixie's chart, they can digibro or Trixie the witch. Not going to blame me for being transgender or even breaking up your ex-girlfriend, but a lot of the drama that Trixie's been through, she or whatever else has been through, I think at least that digibro for the neurotyping chart, for the anime stuff, but nonetheless. That's why I keep mentioning them since the deep docs. But like the 8th episode, I think it was. I said that. I mentioned Jordan Green and Digibro in the deep docs, episode 8. But yeah, a little bit of a Bonnet Mom, a little bit of a Uncle Jack, and a little bit of other people. Not 8th episode of the first season. So if you don't want to watch season 1, episode 8, you can. But it's still there. Hopefully, it's still free. I like the co-op class and stuff for learning, which is not gonna be free for long. But these are deep phrases that I don't tend to say is deep, because they're literally just search engine for like Apple and internet forums. Like, they're not supposed to be deep, they're just essentially for those things. But the reason they're deep for me is because not only were they age-long times I should have been looking this up for many decades on long years, is because they're deep for me because they are things that I don't understand by interpreting my aestheticism and my style and my story. This is the kind of style I want to go with, is stuff like this, where not always feeling good, because pain truly is life, but feeling good to the extent where you have that locus of control for things that make sense enough to you, so that by the time you can't feel good, it feels good anyways. Because discomfort and pain are the fuel which makes me comfortable anyways. The fuel that I need necessary from the pain. Stuff like that. We'll go for 1 more minute and a half. This is the kind of feeling I get from being an esthetician. When I make real weird references to cartoons and anime about these things that make no sense anyways, they're not as relevant as they seem to be, but they're far out of me. When I mention stuff like the Underfist series finale for Grimwitch's Billy and Mandy, it's like, why do I mention stuff like that? Why do I mention that as aestheticism and new type energy? Is because that's what it feels like to me. But it doesn't have to be like communicate that poorly if unity and communicating with other people is the point of communication itself. If arguments are the point of having a message, if having a message is the point of info, it's like, yeah, of course stuff like that would happen to be the case. Which brings me full circle with internet forums and even Apple Incorporated. Because Apple has a simple mission statement. It could be too vague anyways, but even probably what Steve Jobs wrote for it. Apple's incorporated mission statement was simply just have high quality products for software and hardware. And then the thing with internet forums being communicated for a true argument, which is the point of it, and a true unity of other people for the messages being done, either online or in the real life. That's kind of the point. Should I have done this my whole lifetime ago? Maybe. The philosophy or the self-improvement of that. But this is deep for me. I'll be deep for myself while still trying to be better for humanity as a whole. But it'll all be good because even changing myself makes me a better person. One fated early week of November 2023, I decide to hibernate away from my family and friends for no more, no less than 2 months. This is extraneous for my behavior because it means that I would have avoided the one thing I said about myself the most, that the fact that I was an extroverted multitasker. I would set this aside for the time being, for the 8 weeks I was doing it. And no short of any shadow work that I would eventually learn to do more properly, and healing on the inside in the inner world, I would ever try to do, as someone who did want to become the most important person of all time, even if he never could be. And so I will look on that inner world and work on myself for the time being. And there's, however, not without its challenges that even surprised me what happened at the point. Even on the December 30th of 2023, where I learned a very awkward lesson, where I decided to understand morals in a way that was still controversial, if not even allowed. Where Owen Cook's video on how to reinstate control over reality and spirituality has never been any more far from its own truth. Owen is not correct in his reasoning about how to create a better world, even if he has his intentions. And I learned very quickly that even if I can't see what's right or wrong, or good or bad, or emotionally available or emotional contextless, I could still have my own feelings and ethics for what mattered to me, in spite of doing it right anyways, and do it with enough empathy all the same. So as I learned that lesson on December 30th, the day before the end of the 2023 year, I became a more morally sound person, who in turn would eventually become more logical, all the same while still being emotionally available. All this before 2024. January 11th, 2024. Days before where I have actually been someone who learned through his own spirituality and emphasis and existence and embrace of doing things my own way while still trying to be a better person, and negotiating the two things with the likes of communication skills, boundary setting, sexual energy, having to be better about the content I produce on the YouTube Broadcast Yourself platform, and all the same stuff. This comes about with practice. This will never end to the rest of the days. The very few things I did to the point of relapsing to PMO, my porn addiction, where I still emphasized some forms of spirituality but some forms of realistic emphasis on life, right as I'm already going outside for one more jog out indoors, and then making a video clip about Puffballs United from the Henry Stickmin series on Steam and the Flash game era of those video games, and then making a video shouting them out, and then only after following a long hour sprint after a PMO relapse and having to get together well attitude of not giving up even when the things I did embrace spiritually, things I learned, lessons I learned spiritually and realistically, embracing some other forms of habits, good or bad, that would have been the best at the test of time, and still being good on my own terms, all while superstitiously asking for scholar advice and assistance from a Gemini energy in advance from the 2023 year onwards to 24th. I have then encountered a very mysterious manifestation in the form of a young girl known as Makina McLean. Makina is a YouTuber who does videos that are very YouTuber-esque of the early 2000s and 2010s. Not only around the years of her birth, but even the energy of just how she makes content is very casual, very boring-esque, but also has this impression that of other YouTubers who have existed since the beginning of YouTube Broadcast Yourself. Mac has made her first 100 videos or so about none other than clips resembling her obsessions with the Cat in the Hat movie and other impressions of starring vlog life in school before even a presumable 10 years ago COPPA would have not maybe been aligned about. But even I didn't start YouTube with COPPA in mind when I was literally already 13 or 14 myself, within the legal bounds of that. But who needs to know that from the early 10 days, right? Mac then, within 4 videos of already starting more long-form content, manifested me, as I to her, in the direction that I was only in a bathroom visit for maybe like 10 minutes after the things I just said before. And I come across the video with her and Tristan in it, known as Merrily We Fall Out of Line. I'd do anything to be by your side. Swinging in the rain, drawing merrily. Yes, January 11th, 2024. This would be the day that changes the rest of my life for other reasons alone. And I manifest none other than the one for following videos of long-form content that she suddenly started doing not even a week or 3 later. And that's the one video I find first on the feed of my analytics and on my short show, not short show, no, the YouTube homepage. Like finding that later, the very first video. It wasn't even the first video of that long form content style. It was that little video, first or second, I believe. I click on it, watch it thoroughly, and I subscribe. Turn on all notifications, and leave it like that until I watch maybe 2 or 3 or 4 more videos, and then I stop for the rest of the day. I have her in the back of my mind already, having the very first thing I say not be too risque, but still different. Why does she have to be like look that good? If I could put it plainly, without being too abrasive, why does she have to look that good? Being the very first was uttered out of my mouth after manifesting her, and it's like this, unbeknownst to, however, a very interesting line of events where I think I'm the one already going into her Spotify and Instagram, and not so much TikTok and Snapchat, because no one had access to that anyways, so to speak. But when her Instagram already has a very interesting moderated amount of posts that increasingly get smaller and smaller and only get into the real shelf, and her Spotify, which has more than 500 songs and counting, of interesting, well-picked songs, I should say, between Spotify and Instagram. And I would think that within 5 days or less, I've already made a deep dive episode about her, or more, and had a lot of her on the back of my head, roof of my head. You would think that the Tony Cashman has had McKean McLean in the back of his mind ever since that day. Oh no, you best believe that was not the case. This girl has also been about me. On my case. January 11th, 2024, January 15th and 16th of 2024. There have been jumps and rising steady tides of rising random scattered view counts on over 200 videos on my main channel. And they range from videos up until right before or on or no more past the video I made in 2020, late 2022 to late 2023. No, it was November 2022. It goes no more past why I do not enjoy, why I don't have videos I like watching. The one with Clarence and the Madam Secretary on it. And some other seeing stuff with Hugh at the very end. It goes no past that. Random view counts of scattered amounts of over 200 videos watched. And not only the views, the watch time. It more than doubles in that season or month. For that year of, it was like since January of this year. My watch time more than doubles with only one person watching all that content. Over 200 videos, I dare say. Over 200 videos get watched from those 3 days alone in less than a week. Over 20 hours of watch time from a single person. Now, who could that be if it wasn't multiple people? Who could have possibly had the time and the energy and abundant resources to develop that much of a favor or fervor for all my content about combined? Not to mention all the editor picks of my own. My favorite videos watched, and as well as my more favorable collaboration style videos watched and created. What could have possibly have occurred that happened? It could have been a crazy person wanting to be kinship with me. Could have been anyone who was just out of their minds, not knowing what to do with their life. Could have been anyone who doesn't even know who Tony Cashman is. They just want to watch content because they're bored. Could it be all the above? What I'll tell you is this much. It is within no other energy, nothing at all. Without a doubt, this was Makina. And I can tell you with the exact essence why it was the case. I only know a majority of this through psychic connection and intuition that I finally started to trust to a higher level than ever before. Everyone has a level of psychicness that happens to them for them. Ultimately for them. Everyone's psychic. A majority of what I essentially ended up doing with this girl was psychic. I didn't ever know this girl. I never met her in person. I never ended up having to be someone who just happened to know what I was doing. I've only communicated with Makina within 1 or 2 comments on YouTube and a mistake fatally on Instagram that I will learn to heal from and improve from since February 2nd of 2024. That I would then learn to understand even better as time goes on through thick and thin, better or worse. Which I can expand on in videos if I can, if not this one. The psychic connection being trusted for my intuition was the only evidence I needed to have that there is not only a way to be connected to someone deeper without needing to actually know them for years, but that you can truly be psychic in a way that is indeed rare and not pandering to ideals that are only about your gut feeling. But you can still get to know someone better as you give them more eventual chances, obviously. To my understanding, Makina is not a best friend. She is not a lover of mine. She isn't even a social neutral or a past life I should concern myself with. To my own decision and understanding alike, Makina Inkleen is, at the end of the day, my goddaughter. And this has been my ultimate understanding for the 3 months or more that I have known her. And I think the reason I would rather have been in a position, having to be in a position to be her godfather, is because I know I have what it takes to protect her and raise her. I know what it would take for me to actually be that kind of crazy person who's like, but you're not actually in PEI. You're not even anywhere close to Canada. You're not even close to yourself. You don't know who you are. You're still an addict, Tony. You're still someone who doesn't even take care of themselves. You live in your house in your city all day. You don't even make a living doing what you want to do. You make a living on the weekends being a grocer bagger boy. And you don't even do your creative stuff the way you're supposed to. You're not doing more claymations, not doing more cartooning. You're not making videos on YouTube that people actually like to watch. Why should you, of all people, be this legal guardian? Hell, even adoption master, for that matter. That's even darker that gets to be. Why should I, of all people, have custody over Makina? And this is where this video gets so dark, I don't even know if I'm going to upload this. But, even too soon. But I feel like a lot of my life has been a little ironic for even things I say too much about irony. People like my older brother and my father think I say that word too much. I kind of agree with them, to be honest, even at the end of the day. But a lot of the irony even then runs very deep and boils down to the fact that I love my life. And it may not made sense the first time. I may have been a little bit too slow to understand things since the Incredibots forums, Waltrip High School, all the things of my nature where I'm just growing up since March 4, 1997, overcomplicating life and even procrastinating too much, and even being an actual legitimate asshole myself. I am not only a very good person, I am probably one of the more fitting and profitable and endearing ways that Makina could have a role model from. I am one of the more inspiring versions of someone as Tony Cashman that someone like Makina Inkleen could really, really make the most of. I'm never going to be the best version of myself because that's how life works. But I don't want to have to do that without her. And if I really want this badly enough, I will do what it takes to take care of her and be a true legal guardian and be a true father figure for her. If that's really what it would take. If this is not necessary, I would know better. But I've never been more sure in my life that something like this would actually be necessary. And that's why, over the next few years, without even having her in my life physically, in the realm of this planet Earth, I will do my best on my end of the world to prepare myself on the inside, and even on the outside, how to be a better fit for her. Even if I never had her for the rest of my life, I would rather die trying to figure that out and make that last than not trying at all, since I assume I would not be possible, be realistic or not as do Lulu. Before we get into closing, I'd like to explain a little bit of what Makina is on the handful end of things, what I would be faced with raising her, and what it would mean for her life story to be explained in this video in the first place without just a thumbnail. Tony Cashman, if you're watching this video in the future, you are receiving a girl who is so pure and intense, she even beats the most important person of all time at that point. Tony, she is someone who looks up to you. She really admires you. She is someone who does not have to know you in the real realm to know you on a deeper, intimate level. She is quite a handful, obviously. She has poor grades in school. She does not tell her friends the truth. And she has beautiful friends on the matter, but she doesn't tell even her family the truth. And the fact that you even know this much about her is a little bit intimidating in itself. She may not look like she opens up to you, but she really does, on a deeper level than just spiritual alone. She cares about you, Tony. She really does. And she knows that you care about her too. Her love on the battlefield is what it is. She cares about things deeply, as if it's a fight or flight response for everything. That's because the intensity and purity of her life is very much in lieu with what she loves on this battlefield. Love is a battlefield for people, especially Makina. And for her to be that intense and pure and beautiful, a true national treasure of purity, she is someone you can look up to yourself, Tony. You are her inspiration as well as she is to you. And you mirror each other, you reflect each other, you actually complement each other's traits very well. And to be her inspiration and role model is a gift that no one can ever take away from you. Mike from T Steeler. There's nothing that they can take away from you that you don't already have. And that's because you already had it, right? If that doesn't make any sense, that's better deluded than anything I have in my video. But Makina will always be with you, even if you're not with her. She will always be by your side, even if you're not with her. And there's no mistake that when she does seem to be hiding, or being dishonest, or being otherwise as delusional as you, that does no show about you, Tony. There are some challenges and obstacles and even delusions of your own that you are afraid to face yourself. You're afraid to admit that you're a liar in your own way, and that you hide, and that you do not do things right sometimes in ways that you should have done better anyways. You're mirroring her even then. You can't just deny that just because you only accept the good things. You have to accept the bad as well. But you can also shine a light on that shallow self, as well as realizing that Makina herself has done plenty of shadow work and going forwards even more. Or else she would not have manifested you in the first place. Since January 11th of this year. Tony, Makina is not just your daughter. She is your inspiration. And ditto, teach their own. I, Anthony Cashman, hereby accept all legal rights to Makina McLean. And I accept full responsibility for what happens for and to her. And I accept even further responsibility for what happens in relation to myself, to her. I understand that Makina is her own person, and I respect who she is, and I honor her boundaries as well as my own. I will not force her to do anything that she doesn't want to do, even if it's for her own safety. I will protect Makina, even if it goes against what is acceptable otherwise. But I will never invade her boundaries to do that. I will respect her, hug her, love her, kiss her on the forehead, and allow her to make a name for herself in her own way, passion, and mission in life. Makina, your mission in life is very important. You are important. You're a very bold and beautiful girl. And you will make an amazing woman one day, with or without the Tony Cashman I expect to be myself. I'm not perfect. You're not perfect. No one is, and no one ever will be. But we can do this together because we choose each other. And we don't need anyone. I don't need you. You do not need me. You don't need anyone. I don't need anyone. We choose each other. We want each other. We want each other to be better and to do better. Maybe to not think too hard. Maybe to not be in our own business too much. Other people's businesses. But we love each other, right? We want this to be our world. But at the same time, the world of everyone else as well. And we don't want to face our challenges alone. That's why we choose each other. End card. Makina McLean. Shelly says you're a national treasure. You think you're a purple star. And I think you are steel that sprints towards the end of time, knowing what your own time is in the moment. Because you're living your best life right now, in spite of what you have to do in the future. Can you hear me now? Is this a mic? Is this a mic? Is it mic? Mic, number, mic. Mic check, man. Mic check, man. Mic check, man. Mic check, man. Mic and check, man. Mic check, man. Excuse me, man. Yeah, that works. Oh my god, someone went out of the ice cream. Never mind. Go back, guys. Which characters can I out of crossing voice on my own? You know what this place is gonna go to, right? Which ones can I voice on my own? I knew that a few of my friends and popular people in the media could also voice the characters themselves, not just AI, obviously. Not too much again. I could actually voice a really good, not Parcel. I could voice a really good, maybe Angus. I could voice a good Chris. I could do a good Christopher, and I could do a good, Angus. And I could do a really good, if I needed to, I could try to do a good Boyd. I could not nail Lisk. Lisk is gonna be hard to nail. Like, Lisk's dialogue might be on my heart, but I'm not gonna be able to do a good Lisk. I definitely can't do Awful. I can't do Gay. Those are way too out of my range. My voice range, not just because of the caliber as well, and the cadence, all that, whatever. Now I can voice Christopher. I can voice Angus. Now knowing their dialogues a little bit more, I can actually work with that as well. It's gonna be hard not voicing Lisk and not voicing Boyd as much, knowing what the dialogue is gonna be, and it's gonna be weird enough for people to speak it other than me. But you're gonna have to do it. If you're not AI, if you're not popular, you're gonna have to deal with it. I'll pay you anyways. I'll pay all of you to make more. The money you earn from doing TCOT, I'll give you a lot more money than that. We usually do pay bare minimum like $20 per gig. It's gonna be like a little advertised, not sponsored, but $20 at bare minimum per like gig, and then $70 or more per like paycheck being a bonus, surplus $50 if you do a good job at it, and $200 or more if you do a really good job. I pay handsomely, even if I don't have the money yet. I'm a scam artist for not having the money, but I'm a good man for knowing how to care people I work with. Okay. I deal with this with people I paid money for other gigs, okay? It had nothing to do with creativity or stop motion before. It was just different. But at the time, it was like, when I paid for like other content marketeers, those are my friends in my own way. And I still love talking to them. They're not really my friends. I love people like more. So those people I'd voice in TCOT and how I pay people if they work for me as other voice actors. Take care, guys. Love you. See you next time, okay? If you like the main characters montage, please click on this video for best reviewer, recent upload, playlist for any of the missions playlists in particular, which is probably going to be main characters with TCOT, hopefully in this one. And even my subscribe button. Take care, guys. See you guys. TCOT and there's comes the time travel as well. That's the same thing. Whatever. The same thing! Take care of the experiment. Christopher Feather Jr. Okay, this guy is, now, he definitely lives way longer than Awful. Let's get that out of the way, okay? He gets, let's big brain, for real, real's big brain, bigger than Awful brain, but they're all AP, like AP of like Lisk, Christopher, and Awful. They're all AP in the can at least, reputation takers or not. So Christopher is a smart character, and he definitely lives longer than Awful, way longer, even though he still dies in the end of the second book. So. And the second season at that point, but like that's considered the real death, or he died because of smartphone addiction. Whatever works. Christopher has this knack for building out of thin air blueprints of his mind of how inventions could work and things could be new and invented and combined. Usually, Christopher is a little bit inept because he thinks he needs the supplies in order to make these dreams come true. He could find a way to do it rhythmically, kind of like how Lisk would towards the end of the series, especially in the middle or the beginning. Because Lisk was way too clever. Lisk could do it without even thinking himself, and he can still do it without much material on his own end. Christopher has to think about it to make it work warrantedly, but he does it with materials that he cares about. So he's not getting warranted the way he has to supply. So Christopher has a blueprint ability, and he also has like this ideal for leadership that he actually works with people without forcing it to happen. And one more thing about Chris is that he's considered the leader of the Lemon Lynch gang of Algebris or even TCOT. Because Algebris, I don't know what the leader anyways, but all the Chris is always putting everyone else on the line. He's a little after doing it, that's when Boyd will step in and help him out. But Christopher is usually a good social person without being too social like Andromeda or even Lisk, I get the point, or even Boyd. Awful with Christopher. When it's usually Christopher or Awful who made until they end up dying anyways, everyone else will fall in the line with them. But not only with them, just wait. So that's Christopher Feather Jr., not Senior. Junior, the son of him, essentially. Upon a secret journey, I met a holy man. His blindness was his wisdom. I'm such a lonely man. And as the world was turning, it rolled itself in pain. Does not seem to touch you. He pointed to the rain. You will see light in the darkness. You will make some sense of this. When you've made your secret journey, you will find this love you miss. And on the days that follow, I listen to his words. I strain to understand him. I chased his thoughts like birds. You will see light in the darkness. You will make some sense of this. When you've made your secret journey, you will find this love you miss. You will see light in the darkness. You will make some sense of this. You will see a joy in this sadness. You will find this love you miss. And when you've made your secret journey, you will be a holy man. When you've made your secret journey, you will be a holy man. When you've made your secret journey, you will be a holy man. When you've made your secret journey, you will be a holy man. Pusha! Hello. Argent Regal Maverick. A tertiary character for Teacon. Okay, he was originally going to be a secondary character with the main gang, but maybe he was outcast or ousted or something. But Argent is really like a not the guy from YouTube, not the one who made the Rose and Main review and all the political videos. I love that guy. I love that Argent. But I'm talking about AR Maverick, AR Maverick, AR Maverick. He's a black guy with glasses, and he's the father of Moon and Jesse, I think, and that makes them Jesse Maverick and Moon Maverick, and that means that even characters like Shot and George are a little different from like Alien Race and other Project Tether respectively. But considering even Monster Fan or Real Evil, but another Algebra as well. But AR is considered as an assassin. He's directly related to Zackman from the comics, and he's associated as being an assassin, very ruthless and very charming, very badass, but also very responsible, very intelligent, but also very insecure sometimes. So he's a very friendly guy who's also a little bit hard himself. And all he's like one of the most intellectual black men you can think of, kind of like a nerdy extrovert kind of a thing, kind of like what I'm going on. But the AR is very charismatic with what he does with it, how he's responsible. So unlike being like a Dick Grayson or Robin from Teen Titans, he's not that boring. He's actually really cool to be around. But he does it in a responsible way that's not annoying or unfair. He's very fair. He's very hip. He's very emotional and truthful. Kind of like how a black man's emotional and truthful, or a black person's emotional truth. But Argent Regal Maverick, the father of Jesse and Moon Maverick, and also a very good man without superpowers, while even being intelligent, really, like I just said, he was basically. What used to be one that made people from we got messed with. Adults in the Christopher comes to time travel. So as you can see within just the 3 players alone so far, first, second, third place rank main characters or whatever not, and tertiary and secondary, due to honest. These characters vary very strictly from teenage kids to grown-ass adults. And it's like, I wonder what inspired that, Cashman. Makina. But like, it's just like, why else would it not be about teenagers and adults, bro? I actually think about how this actually makes sense. It's like, it's a science fiction, so you're appealing to an audience that manages to understand what the reality is and still knows that it's flexible even then. It's immutable and changeable, but also immutable and not as flexible or not as fixed. So it can be flexible and mutable in other ways, but not always avoiding the real things or the real crap. Okay, it does that. Life is mysterious. Life works in mysterious ways. Things you don't know, things you really wouldn't know anyways, and things you have to know, and things you can't know right now. Beautiful, right? With the distinction made between practically X's or Christopher Sr. compared to even Christopher Feather and Boyd Cascade and Andromeda Swordmaster, yes, there are maturity levels to every single one of them. Even Liam's comes as immature, and Liz comes off as immature, but then Boyd and Christopher are mature, and Andromeda is just more mutable to know the difference. And Olfo just seems to be immature, but he probably is. That's what he does. And then, like, Samantha is definitely mature, but too mature, and Chris is a little immature for a good reason, and then X is immature, but in a healthy way. Why would it be like this? Because the adults are not always right, but the kids aren't always wrong. What? Why did I do that? Because I grew up the same way. I was like, hey, I can't be right about everything, but I have to be right about something eventually because it's based on the facts at that point. What would it be about that otherwise? My opinions? Yes. But my opinion can still matter. My voice can still matter. Just not in a non-political way. Not even always a spiritual way. Not even always in a sexually transmutative way. Because it's beautiful as an adult. We're going to push for quite a crazy amount. A minute and a half. It's going to be less than the videos I make on TCOD's put on channel. My videos have been getting increasingly smaller and smaller. And they don't stop being about 2 minutes or more. But barely more than 2 minutes. Why is that? I wonder, when I'm trying to be a better person at the last second and reel the anchor back in from the sea, or the shuttle back out of space into Earth, why would I do that? Last second making all these other videos and long form content, and other things I do in my life as well as talking too much and talking too cryptically. Would that be a big habit for that? Not necessarily. I think of it being like, I wanted to be myself eventually, if not already. And then only regret being someone who didn't have to be like that. And still not regret it because I still got to take a chance with being myself anyways. If that's not who I really was, I got to find anyways. But being an actual artist who actually needed to find his own passion through letting himself be self-expressive, then fine. That was my way of karmically finding that out. Of being self-expressive and being hard on myself for some reason. If that wouldn't be hard enough. And I mentioned another video that it's hard for men and boys, but like it's hard for everybody. It's not fair for everybody, but it doesn't have to be like that in the first place. So finding out my own way that I wanted to not be the strong one the right way, or be not realizing I'm not strong enough regardless of some situations where I do need people but not in a desperate way, that would be pretty keen. Okay, that's all I got, guys. Like, there are too many videos I make nowadays that are only shorter because I wanted to conform to them and they felt right anyways. They felt right now. How impressed am I of my own show? The Christopher Columbus channel, I mean. How impressed of my own show am I? I'm impressed to the point where I realized doing shadow work on my own series to make it a little better and thought as a possibility without editing too much. I could edit a lot of it to begin with, but I could edit more TCOT than I really thought I would have before. But I'm really impressed by the fact that I did with shadow work. So shadow work makes it so good that if I change it now, it won't be the wrong way to change it. But it could still be better considering what I did with it right now. And doing with the first draft, which still has to change, the dialogue especially, it means it's still a really good show. So I am impressed by TCOT, very much so. I'm very impressed by TCOT. I think I did a lot more better with this show than I did with maybe someone in the past of my own stuff that I didn't really publish yet at all. This is still trying to be published in the first place, but it doesn't have a really good way of doing it. Because marketing is not the best, dialogue is not the best, but I'm still getting there. As I asked before, voice actors and social media marketers, you are very much desired. Especially the voice actors for sure. But I don't see it as being like, if I can't have a good show, that I won't like it. No, I like my art to begin with. It does mean that it sucks in certain ways I can't change yet. When you start any piece of art for the first time, it's going to suck. But that's the thing that you would understand as someone who's trying to improve their art. That, relatively speaking, it sucks because before it gets to be better. So when you improve something, it implies that this part of it that still sucks in the meantime. Not generalistically, not objectively, just in general. And so, I am very impressed by TCOT. I love TCOT. I love making TCOT. I love making things prepared for TCOT. I love embracing what I can do with TCOT, even if it's still be a little bit of my own patience. Which I can imagine being a little different if I don't have to make a minimalistic show. I mentioned in another video, TCOT doesn't have to be minimalistic, but it actually tends to be. Then yeah, I'm very impressed by TCOT. I did a lot more good with this horror storyline than I did with anything else in particular that was Skill Clan.